Hi, my name is Glenn Wild. I'm a disability specialist at the Student Disability Resource Center, and welcome to the Disability Etiquette Workshop.
Hi, my name is Jenny Biggers, and I'm also a disability specialist at the Student Disability Resource Center.
So the goal of our workshop today, participants will have a general understanding of the role that the Student Disability Resource Center plays at UCR, and participants will gain awareness of disability etiquette.
So the mission statement for the Student Disability Resource Center reads as so. Our mission is to promote an inclusive educational experience for students through the advocacy of equal access, disability, and ability awareness and empowerment.
So first of all, I'd like to talk about the types of disabilities that we serve. So we have the hidden disabilities such as psychological, ADHD, autism, chronic health, neurological, acquired brain injuries, and then there's the more visible disabilities, such as blindness, visual impairment, deaf, speech, communication disabilities, mobility and manual impairments. What I like to stress here is that just because a disability was hidden doesn't make it any less real.
And now we'll take the awareness. The next slide will have a series of statements, and you can either guess if it's true or false. First one, all students with disabilities qualify for accommodations. Is it true or false? False. Not all students qualify for accommodations. Students must register with the Student Disability Resource Center, provide relevant documentation to determine barriers that exist due to the disability, and work with the Student Disability Resource Center to determine appropriate accommodations.
The next question. The Americans with Disabilities Act requires academic standards to be lowered to accommodate students with disabilities. The answer? False. So students must meet the same academic standards and also meet the same admissions requirements as all other students.
It is appropriate to use terms like look, see, and watch when addressing someone who is blind. The answer is true. These terms are just normal language and they're not used in derogatory ways. So it's appropriate to use these terms when speaking with an individual who has a visual or impairment or who is blind.
Academic accommodations are put in place in order to ensure academic success for students with disabilities. Answer? False. And the key word here is success. So accommodations are put in place to provide access. So once the student has access to materials, then it's up to the student to achieve success.
When guiding a person who is blind, you should always take them by the arm. The answer? False. If you are supporting an individual who is blind, it is always important to identify yourself in your location and offer your elbow so that you can assist them in guiding them to wherever it is that they need to be.
Individuals with learning and attention disabilities typically have lower IQs. And that's just simply false. People who are deaf always either read lips or use sign language. The answer is false. Some individuals with hearing impairments may communicate using a pad or a pencil or other technologies.
Students are required to register with the Student Disability Resource Center before bringing a service dog on campus. The answer is false. Students do not have to register their service animal with our office. They do need to be aware that they will be asked questions regarding the service animal. And Glenn, can you share those two questions with us?
Sure. The legal questions would be, is this animal required because of a disability? And what service or task is this animal trained to perform? So there is a difference between a service animal and emotional support animals. If a student wants to bring an emotional support animal on campus, that will have to register with our office.
A student with a disability must disclose his or her disability to instructors in order to receive academic accommodations. The answer is false. When students register with our office, we vet all the documentation, and the letters of accommodation indicate the accommodations that are approved by our office. So the information regarding diagnoses or conditions is confidential, and students do not have to share that information with instructors.
A faculty or staff member can face legal action and be found personally liable for refusing to implement academic accommodations approved by our office. The answer is true.
Things to consider. If you're working with a student, be aware of any accommodations requested and follow up with relevant department staff regarding specific request concerns presented. Provide students with information regarding Student Disability Resource Center when asked questions about academic accommodations, and become acquainted with tech tools that may be helpful during the orientation. One tech tool that you can use is Otter AI, which will create a transcription, not 100% accurate, but still helpful, and also provide an audio recording afterwards. And lastly, use disability etiquette.
So now we'll start off talking about some Disability Etiquette 101. First things, we have our do's and our don'ts. So we always want to respect individuals with disabilities. We don't view them as broken, unhealthy, abnormal, or less than their peers. Recognize that many disabilities are invisible, as I mentioned before. Be supportive when you're planning your events. Make sure they're inclusive. And always use person-first language. You want to make sure you don't pity individuals with disabilities, and don't provide unsolicited help.
Person-first language. When writing or speaking about people with disabilities, it is important to put the focus on the person first. Group designations such as the blind or the disabled are inappropriate because they do not reflect the individuality, equality, or dignity of people with disabilities.
A few other things when it comes to disability etiquette. We always want to respect personal space. Don't lean on wheelchairs. Don't mess with individuals' canes. Don't distract service animals because they're working, they're doing a job. And if you're going to be assisting an individual who's blind, make sure you identify yourself first and ask them if they need assistance. And as I mentioned before, always make sure that your programming or events are accessible with clear paths, and provide captioning on your videos, and make sure your social media is accessible as well. Finally, don't assume. Some people may just be having a bad day.
Ableist language. Any word or phrase that intentionally or inadvertently targets an individual with a disability. Some of these terms are crazy, insane, psycho, maniac, spaz, imbecile, or crippled. For the most part, these words are fillers, nothing more. However, each of these words, when used flippantly, can be insulting to individuals who find themselves with physical or psychological disabilities.
So what if a student mentions that they have a disability during a session or a meeting? What if a student indicates that they had accommodations when they were in high school? Or if a student mentions they have ADHD or another disability or diagnosis? What would you do in these cases? The answer, you can refer them to our office.
So now this leads to our informational session, informational part of our session. So registering with Student Disability Resource Center. So you or your mentee could have a disability and would like to inquire about services through our office. So when students are interested in registering with us, they do a pre-registration online. And on that online pre-registration, they're asked to essentially identify some demographics and indicate the diagnosis or condition. We then schedule an appointment with the student and we interview the student, and we call that process the interactive process. We review the documentation that is provided by the student. We assess the environment, which means we look at the barriers that exist due to the disability, and then we identify accommodations that provide access to that student.
Once we do the interactive process, we assign accommodations. Examples of accommodations can range from administrative, such as disability management counseling, where we meet with the student to talk about their disability, priority registration, and then coordination of off-campus services. We also provide classroom accommodations, such as audio recording lectures, help with notes, ASL interpreters if appropriate, and accessible furniture. Testing accommodations include reduced distraction testing environment, extended time on exams, and a scribe. We work with housing to make sure that's accessible. If a student needs first floor or lower bunk or automatic doors. If a student has a food allergy, we work with dining. And if a student is working on campus, we can make referrals to HR to make sure that they have accommodations in their job also. Accommodations vary depending on the individual, environment, and verified functional limitations.
What we don't do in higher education is we don't lower expectations, we don't make grade adjustments, and we do not alter the fundamental course of study. The Student Disability Resource Center provides an array of programming for students with disabilities. If you're an incoming first year or transfer student, the students may be interested in being paired with a peer mentor through our peer mentor program. They're able to provide guidance and support throughout the school year. If students are looking to improve organization and time management skills, students can consider joining the time management workshop series, where they'll learn tools and best practices to meet organizational goals. And then for students who identify as neurodivergent or on the autism spectrum, neurodiversity mixers are regularly held, and students are given a platform to voice their concerns on the type of supports they would like to receive and the opportunity to work on communication skills. And in collaboration with the Career Center, we also have the Aspire program. The Career Development and Professional Leadership program focuses on expanding career skills and transferable life skills for undergraduate students with disabilities. And for advocates and allies for students with disabilities, the Student Disability Union works closely with other student-led clubs and faculty to create inclusive programming and promote disability awareness. And this year we have our Delta Alpha Phi Honor Society that will allow individuals or students with disabilities to apply if they meet the GPA requirement and have taken a certain amount of units. For more information on that, please contact our office.
If you're wondering how else you can be an ally for a student with disabilities, one big thing you can do is volunteer to be a note taker. If the instructor at the beginning of the course asked for a volunteer note taker, most likely it's because there's a student with disabilities in that class in need of notes. It's a very simple process. You just take your own notes like you normally would. You go on our website, you upload the notes, and the student with the disability will be able to access them.
If there are any questions, feel free to contact us at sdrc@ucr.edu. All questions are confidential. And our appointment line is also in service, so you can call and speak to someone, and we do have a virtual lobby. All that information is available on our website. After this presentation, you will receive a Google form to complete. You will get a hyperlink of the hyperlink noted here, which is our disability etiquette video. Thank you so much for watching.